There's a 2010 movie called Rubber. It's a movie about a tire, yes, you heard me correctly, a tire, as in the things on cars, that gains sentience, telepathic powers, and then goes on a killing spree in its quest for love. The movie opens with a speech. Life itself is filled with no reason. Why can't we see all the air around us? No reason. Why are we always thinking? No reason. Why do some people love sausages and other people hate sausages? No f***ing reason. The film you're about to see today is an homage to no reason. And much like the movie Rubber, Cursed Halo is an interactive love letter to aggressive stupidity and the concept of no reason. It takes small things that we take for granted in Halo, the functionality of classic vehicles, the utility and roles of weapons and their respective behaviors, the behavior of the Covenant and general flow of combat, the rules of the game, and it turns it back on the player. Now let's get into my journey through Cursed Halo, and if you find yourself enjoying the video, a like would be appreciated. Upon starting the campaign, I was a little bit disappointed that the cutscenes seemed normal. Nothing was really different. I didn't do any research on Cursed Halo before this video, so for all I knew, this could have just been a low-effort sound mod that people were just weirdly excited about. So far, I wasn't too impressed. I looked down at my phone as the cutscene played out, browsed Twitter, heard the familiar music and quotes, until I heard what sounded like Marines dying. I looked up, and just for a second, I caught a glimpse of a tiny go-kart warthog speeding away from some dead bodies. What was that? Nevertheless, the mission started, and almost immediately, something wasn't right. Plasma shots looked incredibly compressed, and Marines seemed to be trapped in a loop of self-harm and injury, unable to see that they were holding their pistols backwards and shooting themselves in the face. I made my way to the bridge to meet up with Captain Keyes and maybe inform him that things didn't quite seem normal today, but to my horror, it had spread to him too. He unironically handed me one of these backwards pistols and told me to move on. I was on my own here. I had no allies, and I seemed to be the only one noticing how wrong everything was. Since the pistol just shot me in the face every time I pulled the trigger, I was forced to throw it aggressively at the Covenant. The assault rifle would explode in my hands and kill me, so that was a no-go. I picked up one of the Elite's plasma rifles, and to my horror and amusement, it was a stiff early 90s sprite, like something out of Doom. I picked up a plasma pistol for backup as I was playing on Legendary, and I was instantly suspicious when the mod promised that what I had picked up was a normal plasma pistol. I found out too late what was different when an Elite killed me while I was attempting to charge it up, a process that took much longer than I needed. Here I was like a jackass, throwing my pistol at Covenant, trying in vain to charge up a plasma pistol, and I just felt like an idiot. These cursed few moments were just the start of my dark journey through this mod. My journey continued in the next mission as I ran across the fields of Halo, using a super soaker and being chased by banshees that flapped and tweeted like birds. As I approached the familiar canyon where I knew UNSC Marines would be engaging the Covenant, I kept hearing a strange sound in the distance. It sounded like squeaking. Here's where we get to one of the most irritating weapons in the game, which is the Cursed Needler. Instead of firing out shards that would fly towards their foes, these needles would plop right out of the gun and onto the ground and then start bouncing after people, squeaking and screaming excitedly. I've had moments where my own needles would turn right around and chase me down hallways when they decided they weren't interested in the Covenant. This thing was awful. It was a nightmare Halo, where everything was just familiar enough to be recognizable as Halo, but wrong enough to where I felt consistently anxious about how the game was going to screw me over. The standard frag grenades, renamed to the D20 grenades after Dungeons & Dragons 20-sided dice, will do any number of randomized things. I've had myself flashbanged, I've had whatever this is happen. I've had myself trapped in a tree. I've had hundreds of hunters suddenly spawn at once. I've had myself getting randomly headshot. I've had myself randomly headshot, and even a very disturbing and unwelcome appearance by Thanos, which no, I won't be showing you because I don't want this video taken down. Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciated seeing that. I can't get it out of my head now. By this time, my head began to hurt. The sound of those awful needler squeaks was irritating me to no end, and the antagonistic glee the mod found in making sure nothing worked began to wear me down. It wasn't until the start of the Truth and Reconciliation when I think the mod finally broke me. I wasn't laughing anymore. I had a headache, and I had a drink of water with me. I noticed my sniper rifle was very flaccid, which fine, it's a cute joke, but what caught me by surprise was the night vision tip, where it prompted me to turn the world green. I'm not sure if it was just how tactically lazy and low effort that joke was, but water came pouring out of my nose, and I had to take a break to clean my keyboard. From that point on, I was in. The mod had finally punched through me and won me over. I found myself happily flying across the environments of Halo using the new shotgun renamed to the blunderbuss. I found myself genuinely cracking up at finding 3 plasma rifles, revealing that Chief has a 3rd arm and a 4th one that he uses for melee attacks. I even found a duck hunt gun that can pop out of those D20 grenades that came along with unusually high-quality duck hunt cartridges for the NES. Elites with Minecraft weapons would charge at me. Jackal snipers with literal sniper rifles would take pot shots at me. Ghosts would spin wildly out of control, causing the poor pilots to just lose control of their vehicles, spinning off into the great beyond. Halo had become a circus that never slowed down. If I could maybe make one critique about one of the jokes not quite landing, the dual-wielding pistols were not really that cursed. If anything, they were cool. What would make them cursed is if you were given dual-wield pistols, but could only fire the right pistol. Just food for thought. 343 Guilty Spark was a hilariously entertaining mission. One of the best moments in the mod is when, during a serious cutscene, Captain Keys just shoots himself due to being armed with the backwards magnum. Flood missions are usually accompanied by plentiful amounts of, as the tips put it, stuff to put into your blunderbuss. So incredibly tedious and slow levels, like the library, are transformed into these chaotic flying levels. I would use my blunderbuss to soar over the crowds of flood to the finish line. When I finally got to the maw, though, things had changed for the worse. I distinctly remember a cold sweat breaking out when I remembered that this level would require blowing up vents with explosives to progress, and seeing as one of the explosives was actively working against me, and the rocket launchers are facing the wrong way, and if you fire them, they just go flying out of your hands. I was in a bit of a situation. The constant, cramped hallways, squeaking and screaming needlers, explosives, and resets began to wear down my patience by this point, and finally, when I reached the vent room, I spent a good hour there, stuck, caught in a loop of dying, resetting, almost making it, realizing a checkpoint hadn't saved, dying, and resetting, etc., over and over again. My head was pounding at this point. I had a headache like you wouldn't believe. I was in this bad mood, my eyes were hurting, I was done with this mod's nonsense. But I wouldn't ever be able to forgive myself if I let this stupid joke of a mod beat me. I eventually blew up all those vents after an hour and proceeded to the Warthog run. I took off in this tiny little go-kart Warthog, annoyed and irritated. I had wasted an hour of my life on this deliberately broken and stupid level. I was very pissed off at this point. I was frowning so much that my eyebrows were sore from the strain. And then, I just started to laugh uncontrollably. Here I was, genuinely angry at this silly mod, frowning and being miserable while driving this tiny baby warthog with inappropriately epic music playing. It was hilarious. Like a cold drink at the end of the day, all my frustrations just washed away, and I beat the warthog run, giggling and laughing at the sheer stupidity I had subjected myself to all day. In retrospect, this mod is something I wish I had done a playthrough of or streamed, because the quality comes from the almost Mario Party-like atmosphere that a live audience would bring to something like Cursed Halo. The interactions, the collective surprise and laughter at the unexpected. It's something that I feel would have enhanced my experience, led to less headaches and genuine frustration. And this is a lesson that I learned after my playthrough of Cursed Halo. It's hilarious, but I do think it would have benefited from more of an audience. Cursed Halo is not something I can recommend, since that would be about as pathetic as me recommending you all go check out this specific knock-knock joke that I like. This mod is a joke on the player, and the headaches it caused were part of the joke in hindsight. And you know what? In the end, I did laugh at the joke, and I enjoyed my time.